tuned to Portland's Jazz Radio, KMHD Gresham 89.1 FM, and on the web at kmhd.org. A partnership between Mount Hood Community College and OPB.
This is Saturday night and Sunday morning, the gospel roots of rock and soul. I'm your host, Cece Winans. In this hour, gospel goes mainstream. From the rock and roll roaring out of Memphis, Tennessee, to Mahalia Jackson reigning as the queen of gospel in Chicago, to the Detroit sounds of Motown and Aretha Franklin. These artists gave gospel a starring role on the pop music charts. Today we hear the sounds of gospel anytime a singer reaches for a high note or fronts a choir. The arrival of gospel meant American pop would never be.
Howdy, folks. Big Ed Barnum here from Big Ed Barnum's Bauble Barn and Garden with a very important message for you. It's Thursday night. It might be the beginning of your weekend. If you're calling in sick tomorrow, or you just happen to have a job. I don't know why I'm suddenly in commercial voice mode. You might have a day off tomorrow. It might be a 3-day weekend. You might be on vacation now, and it's actually been a 9-day weekend. Yes. Howdy, folks. Big Ed Barnum here from Big Ed Barnum's Bauble Barn and Garden with a very important message for you. It's Thursday night. Cole is not with me. He texted me around 10 o'clock this morning and said, well, my phone's over there, so I can't read the text verbatim, but basically he said, I'm kicking off at noon, heading over to the coast, because it's apparently a nice day out at the coast. It's 63 degrees inside the shed, which means it's about 55 degrees outside, so it kind of feels like a spring day in some form or fashion. I'm really tired of these glasses. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it again. I'm tired of these glasses. So, yes, Adjective Beaver. We'll get to that, because that's one of the things we're going to be doing on this stream in the future, is doing a little parlor gaming, as the kids say. Really more as the old people say. So it's just me tonight. Actually, I will say, I did say he kicked off, like he died. Cole did not die. He just got in a car and went to the coast. Presumably, he's not going to get in a knife fight with some fishermen who are just in and succumb to his wounds in a back alley. Cole, I weigh about 3 times what Cole does, and I wouldn't want to fight Cole, because he's got like this wiry kind of strength. He's got this like wiry coiled spring strength. He can generate a lot of torque, so they tell me. So we're gonna get Goldie. It took me a second to realize what you were talking about. I did get new ones. They're progressive lenses, and they're crap. So I have 2 pair of glasses that I hate. I just hate them. So it is, I'm going to say it's possible Cole could show up here. I think it's very unlikely, because I think he would be leaving the coast maybe right about now. It depends on when his afternoon drinking headache goes away, when he gets back on the road. And depending on if he went to, I don't know if he went to Astoria or Cannon Beach. He said the beach, so I'm going to assume he shot straight out west to Cannon Beach, maybe Seaside. But Seaside's sort of a tired carnival town. Hopefully you're not a big fan of Seaside or watching from Seaside. I don't think he went to Astoria. So if he left right now, he would be here right about the time I would be ending the stream. And that's not a false setup. That's not for a bit later on. It's just, it's unlikely. I realize we'll be streaming in a few moments. We're streaming right now. Right now. I think. Yeah, I think. Hey, J-Man for Life. Hey, J-Man for Life, Adjective Beaver Goldie. I think Randy Knickers is over on the Facebook side of the house. Yeah, so it's Thursday night. And so Cole, as I said, he's not here. I have what I think is sort of, I don't want to say just chill hanging out time planned, but it's kind of a little grab bag of all kinds of things that we have in the shed that, like, earlier today I was like, well, Cole's not here. I don't really have anything to talk about. I haven't really set up anything that I want to do. And then, like, I was about ready to cancel, and then I saw one thing arrived. One thing arrived via FedEx. Another thing I was using, and I'll show in a second. I was using something, and I was like, oh, I should share this. And then Cole and I have been talking about doing some parlor gaming, and I think we are going to start with a game that I'm going to share. I'm just saying and on Sunday's book club stream, I randomly pulled one of my notebooks. I don't use the word journal. To me, journal has a context of sitting down and pouring your rage and your misgivings and your indignities down on paper. I try not to do that. I try to whisper those things angrily in the shower. So it's a notebook that I randomly picked up. There's literally about 45 notebooks over there, and I pulled this one out randomly, and I can't. There was a pie flow chart, a pie chart, if you will, that I just randomly opened and shared. And then today I was flipping through this, and I saw a couple other things, and I was like, I'm just going to share those things. I don't even have my bumper up here. It's not a bumper. It's a lower third. So going to share some of that stuff. So yeah, it's sort of just sort of a hangout with Big Ed night. And you know, normally when people hang out with me around the house, I'm not wearing pants, but I do have. I think you can see, I'm wearing pants. I don't want to close the lid on that thing, just in case it kills a signal to something. But thanks for joining. We're just going to hang out. And I think we're just going to, well, I don't want to time box anything. Because as soon as I time box it, we'll be on here till midnight. Or 1 a.m. Local time to you. Or, some of you are on the East Coast. Do I have any East Coasters on here tonight? On Facebook, do I have any East Coasters? It doesn't look like it. So, I'll just get started with a couple things. I'm going to start with this thing that's hidden over here because it weighs quite a bit. And if I actually knocked it over while the stream will be streaming in a few minutes thing was when it made a loud noise. But I've been trying to, when I work at home a lot, and there's a lot of sitting. And not a lot of walking. So I was like trying to figure out some way to, engage my muscles, if you will. That already sounds stupid. Engage my muscles while I'm either listening on a call or standing around. So I bought a steel mace, and I can't remember if this is 15 pounds. This one's a 10-pound mace. But the whole thing itself is about 15 pounds. It's basically a kettlebell that somebody just let the handle go all to hell. So it's a steel mace. It's 10 pounds right here, and then I guess the handle weighs. It's probably 3 pounds through the handle. I'm not quite sure. But the idea is that there's all sorts of shoulder rotation exercises and basic resistance things. And the idea is that you're moving it around, and if what you're doing with it is too easy, you can just change your hand positions, and then just the balance of it changes. I got to work more here. I got to work more to move this around. But if I put it here, more stable. I feel a little silly. There's other ways I could have decided to work out, but it feels pretty good. And the neighbors only called the cops once. I have a tractor tire out there, and I was doing like a sort of a, well, I wasn't doing sort of a, I was pretending that I was chopping wood with it and bouncing the head of the mace off the tire. The neighbors called the police and paramedics because they thought I was destroying something in my backyard, and then by the time the police got here, they called EMS because I had collapsed. It's actually just hard holding it right here talking. I'm kind of winded. Adjective Beaver, one of the things, in the shed here, we had a elliptical machine for a long time that I kept thinking, I'm going to light that thing and put cameras on it, and every morning I'm going to stream my workout. The problem is, I hate elliptical machines. I love treadmills. Get me on a treadmill and I will walk and occasionally jog, depending on the weight specifications of the treadmill. And I'll go on a treadmill literally almost all day. And it just sort of like, it was in the corner. It was an ugly corner of the shed. Lighting it just seemed sort of dumb. And then what am I gonna talk about in the mornings for 20 minutes? And let's be reasonable, 3.5 to 4 minutes while I get my elliptical workout in. I'm short of breath just moving that thing from there to here and telling you about it. I don't know where this is going. I just don't know. I really don't. Sometimes I just think that, I can always, when I get self-reflective and sort of lose myself in a thought, I can always hear the turntable doing its job to snap me out of it. I imagine most of it would be heavy breathing. Nordic track. Actually, here's something. I'm glad you said Nordic track, and this was not an arranged lead-in in any way. My wife came to me literally it was morning. It was right before lunch, and she said, "Honey, we're going on a Norwegian cruise." And I said, "That's great, because you know I love the Scandinavian countries." And she said, "Hold on a second. I'm just talking about Norwegian Cruise Line." But she and I and her parents, I think Cole has been invited, but he has not committed to going yet. But we're taking a Norwegian cruise from Seattle up to Alaska, up to a place that I mispronounced earlier as Hoo-Ha Bay. It's Hoona Bay. I think that's how it's pronounced. And I have mixed feelings about this, because when I travel someplace, the last thing I want to look like, the last thing I want to be or look like is just a fat tourist. So usually when I go someplace that's a little off the beaten path. I usually pay a price. I usually get jock itch. Went to Mexico, got jock itch. Went to Peru, I saw Machu Picchu, but my mind was on jock itch. I've seen Angkor Wat. I've been in Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand. I usually like going places where there's not a resort or a fancy hotel. I usually get jock itch in these places. I've said too much, but so my for the last 30 years, I've been the kind of person that normally looks askance at cruises. I just sort of see it as a floating hotel resort with a lot of people that I probably will tolerate talking to for about 10 minutes until I can find something else to do or somewhere else to be. So I have mixed feelings about going on a cruise. At the same time, getting older, the idea of just being a fat tourist on a floating resort actually sounds kind of good. There's always... Actually, I got jock itch in Italy. And it wasn't even hot and balmy or anything like that at the time. But I get jock itch when I travel. That one black guy, that's on my mind as well. And one of the upsells that I did pay for, and don't get me started on the base price of a cruise and all the add-ins and the things that you should pre-select because they're cheaper than once you get on the boat and you're like, oh yeah, I would like bottled water, which on a cruise ship is the kind of water I think I should drink. I think everyone should drink, but then it's just sort of complicating and exaggerating the problems. There's enough bottled water. There's enough bottles on the planet. It's just a mess. It's just everything. I got La Jokic in France. In Germany, I think it's called Georgitsch. Sorry. Anyway, so yes, I have mixed feelings about it. I'm trying not to let it cloud any enjoyment that I'm trying not to talk myself into a bad time right off the bat. And the way I see it is, worst case scenario, I can always go somewhere and just read. And I'm a big fan of that. So actually, one of the things I was going to do was share the, make sure there's no personally identifiable information. I don't want to pull a Goldie. Anyway, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So let me go over here. And so yeah, no personally identifying information on here that I can see. Let me do this over here. But leave Seattle on a Saturday, and then we arrive back the following Saturday. There's a couple things on here that I'm pretty excited about. And I'm going to see what happens. It's a resolution. If I just go in here like this. Ba-boom. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Let's just see. Let's just see how high-res the PDF can go. But we start in Seattle. Finish up in Seattle. I'm going to go in reverse order of some of the things that I'm excited about. Our last night on the cruise, Friday night, we get into Victoria, British Columbia. And I am... One second. I'm a big fan of Victoria. It is a place... It's in Canada. It is... well, you can just see there's... is it Victoria Island or is it Vancouver Island? Vancouver Island is the small island just off of Vancouver, I think. I think it's Victoria Island. If Token's watching, he would know. But I'm a big fan of Victoria because it feels like, for me, Victoria is the closest place I can go and feel like I've gone to Europe. And if you've been, I'd be interested to know if you agree with that sentiment. I'm going to switch over to my chat monitor over here. Oh, that's right. Goldie did go on a cruise recently, and I can't remember if it was Caribbean or something else. I think it was Caribbean. But, so yeah, one of the things I'm excited about is going to Victoria. But at the same time, it's like, Victoria, it's about a 4-hour drive to get to the ferry, and then the ferry takes 3 hours, I think. I can't remember how long the ferry takes. Adjective Beaver, I think you would absolutely love it. And I think most people like it when they're here. Some people love it. What little I know about you, I think you would absolutely fall in love with it. So I'm interested in that. Another thing I'm interested in general is, I have not been to all 50 states. It wasn't until a couple years ago that I even thought about making all 50 states something that I would cross off my list. But went to Hawaii for the first time a couple years ago. And then I figured, well, I'm close enough to Alaska. Maybe I'll get that crossed off. So I'm gonna, those are really the two hardest ones to get crossed off the list. I still have to go up to Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont and get those over on the other side. But the rest of them, it's just a smash and grab drive across Utah, Montana, and to pick up those. So I think I've been to 43 of the states, and with Alaska, it seems like something that that is doable. So I've not been. So one of the things I was going to do on this stream until I cluttered it up with all these other things I want to do is, since I've not been to Alaska, I've obviously not been to Juneau. I almost said Juneau, which I think maybe on the cruise I'll just be the jerk that mispronounces all the names, but mispronounces them not like it's Juneau, but always with an elegant. Oh no, I've never been to Juneau. No, I've never been to Ketchikan. No, I've never been to Hoona. So I'm excited about all those things. And you'll notice we sort of thread our way through. Let's see if I can get in a little closer here. The resolution seems to be doing okay. We thread our way up through these little channels, these little islands here. Juneau, Hoona. I know nothing about Icy Strait Point or Hoona. And then we sort of kick out into the Pacific and make what I assume is a pretty fast beeline down the coast. Now, there is one thing that does concern me about the itinerary. It's Victoria, British Columbia. It says we depart there at 7 p.m., but we don't arrive at Seattle until 12 hours later. It does not take 12 hours to get there, so I'm wondering if we actually spend part of the night in Victoria, and then there's an early 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Time that it takes to travel, or it just takes 12 hours to go a 3-hour distance. So yeah, going to Norway. Not going to Norway, just going to Alaska. So I am trying to remain positive about it. I'm trying to put my baggage about cruises aside. I'm trying to put my baggage surrounding cruises in steerage. Wait, steerage is poor people. Wait, is steerage class both a reference to the poor people in steerage as well as the steerage? I don't know. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Oh, I see. I see, Goldie. But it says we disembark in Seattle at 7 a.m. So I don't know. I suppose it's probably more clearly called out in our actual itinerary. This is the itinerary that sort of applies to all of those particular cruises for that particular thing. Well, Goldie, I'll have some questions for you about Alaska. So even though it's a cruise, even though there are shore excursions, I'm hoping that I get at least one shore excursion where I get to go do or see something that nobody else wants to do because it involves, getting in a beat up car with a local and driving, 45 minutes away, being robbed, and then, getting jock itch, and then having to walk back. You know, it's a 45-minute drive, but you have to walk back, and then you miss the boat. So then you have to hire someone to drive you to the next port of call. I'm just hoping I get the opportunity to do that. So yeah. I'll stop doing that right now. And I know it's old-fashioned Thursday, but I've been trying not to drink on the streams because, you know, drinking, it's delicious. But, you know, if we have 2 or 3 drinks on the stream and then we're sort of like, okay, let's go have dinner. Oh, anyway. So I've been trying not to drink. I've also been doing a lot of intermittent fasting. And the one thing I found about intermittent fasting is if you, you know, it's not as hard. Once you get a couple fasts under your belt, it sort of becomes easy. But if you're coming off a fast, you shouldn't break your fast with a shot and a beer. I mean, you can, and I have almost regularly. But anyway, I'm just sort of, you know. Actually, Adjective Beaver, there is a Love Boat episode where I believe the Love Boat, which I think is normally cruising either, I think it's cruising like the Pacific side of Mexico. It's like hitting Acapulco and Mazatlan. Is Mazatlan on that part of the coast? Anyway, but there is a Love Boat. I think it's a 2-parter where the Love Boat is somewhere, and I don't know if it's Marseille, I don't know if it's Naples, I don't know where the ports of call are on these 2 episodes of the Love Boat, but Gopher goes on a shore excursion, and the boat, he misses the boat, and he has to find his way to the next port of call over land, and by the time he gets there, he doesn't have the makeup of a mime, but he's dressed like a French mime with a baguette, riding a bicycle with a kerchief tied around his neck. It's absolutely amazing, that episode. I think it's 2 episodes. Thank you for the host, Dee Dee Marie. Thank you for joining, Dee Dee Marie. I'm just going to take a little swig of this. And no, I didn't pour Wild Turkey 101 down the neck of it. Although I've done that too. So I'm going to do what I always do and close tabs as I go. And hopefully I didn't just close the... No, I didn't. 1 second. So, Dee Dee, you missed the steel mace. Which, yeah. I'm just going to set it over there. No possible way I could bump into it and knock it over again. So, just checking my flow here. One of the things Cole and I have been doing, and this is sort of a 2-part thing that I'm going to do here. We have been talking about doing some parlor gaming. I would say board gaming, but sometimes when you say board gaming, people tend to think larger, sprawling games like Twilight Imperium, or things like that. But we wanted to do some parlor gaming where we could, with a couple cameras, get in tight on the game board, and then there's Cole's view, and then there's my view, and then I'd love to have somebody in here switching camera shots for this so that Cole and I can, you know, stay in character. Sorry if I just said something that rattled you, like there's a reality thing that like there's 2 worlds. Anyway, so one of the things we needed to do is we needed to get another... It's called a beast clamp. I'm just going to open this here. ASMR. I don't think they make faces when they do ASMR. Or what is the subspecialty of ASMR where the person's making faces? If you don't know what ASMR is, Google it, and you'll either be like, oh, that's interesting, or you will be very sad that it exists. So one of the things that we do is we're getting a third camera. Hang on. Nope. Going with a knife. And so I got another. This is a new product. This is not a sponsor or anything like that. It's a beast clamp. It is meant to hold, I guess it can hold all kinds of things, but it'll hold iPads, it'll hold iPhones, which here in the shed, and some of you know this already, we're not using traditional webcams, we're not using OBS Studio or XSplit or anything like that. We're using, oh dear. There's a piece to this that I didn't realize there was a handle. We're using Switcher Studio, which is this is a lovely little. Oh, I should have. Hang on a second. They packaged it like candy. Oh no, I won't get it back in. So it is essentially a little thing that you loosen. You can slide it to the, I don't have my extra iPhone here, but you slide your iPhone in, tight it down, clamp it, and then it's got standard threading for just about any plate for a tripod. It's nice and hefty. You could put this in a sock and murder somebody. If that's how if that's your preferred melee style. And I did not know that they were giving me this so that you could. I mean, it's not like a little. I mean, it's not balanced or anything, so it's just. Burp, burp. But actually, with a handle on it, you don't need the sock. You can just go into a bar and say, "Which one of you assholes wants to fight?" And then the first drunk person that comes up, just make sure you get. It doesn't have a lot of. You gotta. If you're coming down with a swing, you gotta flick the wrist right at the end to get the power. Which you can develop using a steel mace. I swear I'm not. Can you do hotkeys with Switcher Studio to switch scenes? So if you can hook them up to a mixed play board and set the permissions to the buttons to moderator only, Dee Dee and I control camera scenes. The only thing I believe the short answer is yes, except Switcher Studio does not support the FTL protocol, and I think the mixer boards, the mixed play boards, I think require the FTL protocol. I'm just guessing. I've not researched that, but that would be awesome, Adjective, if someone could remotely switch cameras, or folks, not that I would ask for sparks. I guess you could put it on the mixed play board, change the camera angle, put a cooldown on it of 30 seconds or so that somebody just can't strobe the cameras. That's me strobing the cameras. I was actually going to switch this camera over here, this camera, and see if I couldn't get this thing hooked up. All right, I'll see if I can do it in 1 minute. Hopefully I won't do anything to turn this camera off. Doo-doo. Oh, I will if I go that way. All right. This is the flimsy little thing that this was on earlier. I think I can one-hand this. All right, I just gotta, hang on. I gotta put you down. Uh-oh, lost the camera. See if it comes back immediately. Bam. I may have got the camera back. Do-do-do. 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 All right, we're locked in on that. I'm just going to go do something here. I'm going to switch to this camera. I think I didn't lose the stream. All right. But I think I can get this thing switched back in just about in just about 30 more seconds. It's going to be so worth it. I swear, it's going to be totally worth it. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. He says to folks who have no idea. Doot, doot. All right, we're going to slide this thing back in. Hopefully not going to lose the cable again. This is where a troll comes on and does a lot of stuff while I can't do anything about it or see it. And that changes the angle of that a little bit. But good to go. So, yeah, don't let my streams cross. All right, well, Adjective and Dee Dee, I would love to see what it takes to set that up. I think we would do, I think we would have, I know we'll have 3 cameras. The question is whether we would have 4. But this here's a little tiny product made by Glyph, G-L-I-F, and it's what's been holding our second camera in place. And it's great if you have, I don't know, it's good. That's great though. And this, the handle, you could put this handle in a sock and murder somebody with it. Maybe in one blow. It might take a couple of blows. But Beast Clamp, their products are not terribly cheap, but they are built to be abused. You can use them out in the field quite a bit, and I think I didn't tighten something up enough because that's the camera angle I got right now. All right, hang on a second. Let me go fix that. Oh, I see what happened. Let me pop this guy, do a little leveling. I think I truly did lose this camera. All right, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Doo-doo. All right, we're just going to go without it. All right, remove that. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. I just have to go look at an IP address on this guy over here. Da, da, da. 22. So lesson learned, don't switch camera equipment out on the fly, even when you're not switching the camera out. So I think we should have a shot now. There we go. So I'll just frame this up a little better. So the whole purpose of that, Beast Clamp. I think it's beastclamp.com. So one of the reasons why Cole and I have been talking about getting a couple of things. I don't know where Amy is. Perhaps Roger's not. I don't see Roger on either. So maybe they had. Maybe they just finally got some sense in them, or they're just having a romantic evening at home. But one of the things that Cole and I have been talking about is parlor gaming. I think this is only the 4th time I've said it. Not that that's your fault. All right, now I'm rattled. Can't get anything right. I can't get anything right. So, the game that I thought we would play is called Tack. And if you're a fan of fantasy books, or you don't even have to be a fan of fantasy books, you can just read them. I guess you have to be a fan of them to stick with them. But there's a guy named Patrick Rothfuss who's written currently 2 novels in a trilogy. The King Killer Chronicles, I think it is. I have mixed feelings about it. I'll talk about them on the book club sometime. But in the 2 novels currently, the first novel this game is mentioned, I think it's mentioned in the first novel. In the second novel, it plays a small role in a subplot. I guess it's a subplot. There are 2 characters playing this game called Tack, and the rules aren't mentioned in the game. Some of the themes and things like that are mentioned in the game. The game is supposed to be elegant. Like Go, it's supposed to be very simple to learn, but very difficult to master. And there's a couple. This was a Kickstarter thing. This was not. I don't think this was the Kickstarter version. This is the. Anyway, I will take the lid off this. There's a company called Wormwood who does a lot of woodwork gaming supplies. They do dice towers. They do small carrying cases, display cases for miniatures, things like that. They created a deluxe. Now, you can go buy a copy of Tack, I think probably for $24, $30 at the most. I also have another. I'm going to move this mace. When I sat it over here, I was like, I'm not going to get up. But now I've gotten up enough times that I just have to move it. This is going to be a little ridiculous. I also have a copy of Tack in here, in travel form, in my wizard bag. Where the game board is just a piece of cloth. I'm not going to take it out, but all the playing pieces are in here. So when I'm wizarding, I can still play Tack. So I have 2 versions of the game. I'm going to see if I can move this back here a little bit. But this is a... I forgot how this is in here. A wooden version of the game. There's 2 sides of it. They did a checkerboard pattern on one side, but there's this pattern on the other side. Tack is normally played on a board that's 4x4, 5x5, or 6x6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a nicely made wooden board. I forget what type of wood this is, but I will go look it up on I'm going to move over here. So this is that board, and then I'll see if I can get these things. This bubble wrap is annoying me. Actually, I know what I'll do. I'll put my bag of wizarding under here to elevate this. And then come back to here and come in a little tight. So these are 2 different types of wood, 2 different sets of playing pieces, light color, dark color. And it's the object of the game is to string a set of your pieces from one side of the board to the opposite side of the board with some rules about how the tiles go down, how they can move and how they can interact with one another. I'm not going to go into gameplay tonight. It's a fairly simple game. I'll put some links out on Discord so that you can look it up. I think there's also, the rules are very short. One of the things I also bought is there's a little companion book that has different variants of the rules and just sort of the history of how the game was made. When he wrote the book, he had no idea, no intention of producing a game, and people kept asking him, hey, what are the rules to TAC? How do you play this game? Where can I buy it? Well, the nice thing is, if you print out the rules, the playing pieces are really pretty simple. You can play with poker chips and a checkerboard. You can play. You don't even need a board, as long as you can envision a grid of 4x4, 5x5, 6x6. You have all you need to play the game. Keep getting distracted by this little handle. But I think next Thursday, I hope we have enough time. We kind of did a rudimentary setup over the weekend just to sort of do proof of concept of how to set it up and how we wanted to frame it, frame the board, frame Cole, frame me, not have to do a bunch of relighting with what we have here. Because we're lazy. And plus, between the book club and this thing and some other stuff that we're shooting that no one has seen yet, trying to move things around as little as possible. So that is TAC in very brief. And I will say one thing about the book, Beaver. I have enjoyed the books. I think Kvoth, if that's how it should be pronounced. I think Kvoth is running a con on the people who are around him as he's telling the story, and I think Patrick Rothfuss is playing us all for suckers as well. That's all I'll say until I say why on the book club stream. And that's not to say anything bad about Patrick Rothfuss or what he's doing. I'm just saying I think in the end, you, the reader, you're going to be a sucker, and you're going to be complicit in it as well. If that makes any sense. Let me get my butt scooted closer here. So that is. Let me just check in with chat here to. FTL isn't required. I saw that. There will be a delay. I've wanted to play TAC. You met Pat at Phoenix Comic Con. So one thing, it's been 10 years since In the Name of the Wind. Is that the first one? I can't remember the name of the wind. Can't remember the names of them right now. But the first one is 10 years old right now. And about this time last year, Patrick was queuing up, some big announcements. And after about a 3-hour live stream that he did, he announced that he was not releasing the third book. He was releasing a revised 10th anniversary edition of the book, of the first book. And I don't know. I have a feeling that he feels that I think he's written himself into a corner and he might not know how to get out of it. I mean, he may have written it. I don't know. I've said too much about that book without just making a whole book club stream about it. I'm just checking in. I think our stream is okay. It's just that camera going offline for a second. accidentally yanked the... we're using iPhones, but I have a converter that takes the lightning cable and lets you run Ethernet to it. I pulled the Ethernet cable out of it while I was swapping it. That's what happened. So I think that's coming up next Thursday. I have no idea how that's going to go. Worst case scenario, you people will be bored more so than you are now, watching me and Cole play a game, being totally disengaged from chat for 1 to 2 minutes at a time. Actually, it sounds like a normal stream for us. Maybe. I don't know. So that's that. I'm trying to think of what else I got to cover. I got to cover a couple things from a notebook. I was also supposed to unbox something else tonight that I was pretty excited to have on the stream. Let me just make sure I'm not going to share any personally identifiable information here. Actually, let me refresh this screen. I ordered something about 2.5 years ago. It was a Kickstarter campaign. I'll pull up what I ordered in a second here. And it was supposed to arrive today. And about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I got a notification that it was in, and I don't even know if it's Durkee, or Decatur, Oregon, which is about 5 miles, I think, definitely east, I think a little southeast of Portland. And if it's truly in transit, well, it said it was going to get delivered today, and now it says scheduled delivery pending. Unless there's a guy in a truck who left Durkee, Oregon, at around 2:45, he would be getting here right about now without, any traffic considerations. I don't think this thing's going to show up. What is it that I ordered? Let me pull up the page here. And this was a Kickstarter about 2.5 years ago. And they've been wonderful people. I have nothing bad to say against them. Thought they were coming in right now. But one of the reasons why I have I've pumped the brakes on Kickstarter is I'm tired of waiting a long time to get Kickstarter things delivered. And this has been by far the longest one. But this is one that they were very... There was R&D going on. There's manufacturing going on for this. I don't even know how I'm going to use it. But what I'm babbling about is I bought... come on. Alright, got it now. I bought a Billy amp, which is a sort of a boutique vacuum tube amplifier that has gone through several different iterations of design development. It finally went into production during the fall. Everything designed from the ground up. I wish these photos would slow down a little bit. But I was hoping to be unboxing this today. Features and specs, I'm not going to read these to you, but if you are of the mindset of someone that these are vacuum tube preamps, there's all kinds of fun things here. USB, so you can update the firmware. All kinds of things that you can do. And my first thing that I'm going to do with it is I don't have the turntable yet. I'm basically just going to make a little vinyl listening station for myself here in the shed. And the Billy amp will probably also, by the time I go through the soundboard and then put it out over a stream, it's not like you're going to get to enjoy any of it, but it will be in use here in the shed. And again, I was hoping to be unboxing it today. I'm a little sad. I'm as sad as this dark moon. But check out Heaven 11 Audio. They are, they're there. I won't tell you the price. It's not outrageous. I have a friend who routinely spends vast sums of money on all kinds of audio equipment. He would probably scoff at this purchase. So there's that. And then I think that's going to wrap that part up. I just see time getting away from us. And I don't want people going to, falling asleep. So that will hopefully be here tomorrow. If it's in Durkee, I assume it left Durkee and then it's just not reached the next package scan location yet. I hope I get it tomorrow. Which brings me to the last thing I was going to share tonight. If you're on the book club stream on Sunday, and I think most of the people who are on here right now were, Goldie mentioned something about having a bunch of notebooks, and I said, well, I'll do you one better. I got a bunch of notebooks over here. And I pulled one out randomly, and I came up, I don't know, did I add these? Oh, I did add these. So I mentioned that I had a pie chart, which is a flow chart that is, should I get some pie? I don't know why I'm holding it up here when I have this right here. And in the upper left, it's, are you hungry? No. Do you like pie? No. Then you should possibly see a physician. I'm just going to go through these. Upper left, are you hungry? Yes. Has it been at least 5 minutes since your last meal? Yes. Do you have a napkin? Yes. And then it sees the arrow goes down to have some pie. And then, of course, are you hungry? No. Do you like pie? Yes. Then I think everything sort of kind of came down. The pie on the lower middle was supposed to be moved up because even if you don't have a napkin, that should not get in your way of enjoying pie. So that was something that I shared on Sunday on the book club stream. I was going to hop over here very quickly for one little thing. And then I decided, well, I'm going to flip through this notebook and see what else might be in here. Yes, have some fucking pie. There should really just be one box in the whole chart. So I started flipping through this, and I'll just hold this up here. But as you can see, I sketched Sophie. Just a sort of an outline. That's my cat. That's my little kitty. Except she has eyes and limbs. Her legs are supposed to be sort of like tucked in there. I did not, in no way has this cat had its limbs amputated. It just I haven't developed as an artist, so it's just I can see the legs. Whether you can or not, I'm not sure. Hey, average gamer. So then there was another one that I found. I think this one really shows how far I've come as an artist, and I got to take this down because it's going to block the shot. Oh, hang on. Rodan. Kaiju, mega monster, enemy of Godzilla, or I guess, ally, depending on the storyline, although I've not seen all of the kaiju movies to know if Rodan and Godzilla ever teamed up. I don't know. I feel slightly embarrassed and ashamed that I don't know the full history of Rodan and his allegiance or opposition to Godzilla. I think it was largely oppositional, but there's a lot of those movies where they could have teamed up to take down those bank robbers from Heat. That'd be a good movie. That bank robbery scene from Heat, which is a great scene if you're into macho kind of crap like that. But that scene from Heat, while Godzilla and Rodan are Al Pacino and Wes, the Native American guy, Wes Studi. Just I don't know where I'm going with this. So, yeah, Rodan. And there were some other things in there, but none of them... Those were the gems of the notebook. The pie chart, the kitty cat, Rodan, and the only other thing, I decided... I'll show you this. I didn't take a photo of it. I started a flow chart that was supposed to be a funny thing of whether you should tie a tie as a full Windsor or a 4-in-1 knot. Yeah. You got to go where the comedy takes you. And sometimes it takes you to men's fashion. Speaking of men's fashion, something coming up on our June 8 marathon stream to celebrate 5 years of streaming and making web series. I'm going to adopt a new fashion accessory. And it's not a hat, and it's not a pin, and it's not a jacket. But I will be adopting and adapting and relishing a new fashion accessory on the 12-hour stream and every stream moving forward. I'm making it part of my uniform, my working clothes. And it is something that you'll be able to see. It's not like antibacterial underwear that helps fight off jock itch when you're in Peru, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Sayulita, Phnom Penh, Angkor Wat, Ho Chi Minh City, Chao Doc, Poi Pet. Yeah, I've had jock itch in I've had jock itch in the U.S., so I've had jock itch in 10, I would say countries, but some of those were in the same country anyway. I've had jock itch in a lot of places. I've never had jock itch in Africa or Antarctica, largely because I've not been to either one of those. Actually, that's what we should. That's what I should develop is the jock itch tour. It's just a tour. It's like a couple people in a car going around places until somebody gets jock itch and has to go to the doctor for some sort of antibacterial salve. And they look at you funny, like, don't you know how to take a bath? And you're like, yeah, I know how to take a bath, but, I've been sweating my balls off almost literally since I got here. I mean, it was 85 degrees at 3 in the morning when I got off the airplane and I was on the tarmac. And I was like, I'm going to be here for 3 weeks. I've made a huge mistake. And I'm so jacked up on coffee and having to go to the bathroom about every 5 minutes because I'm on Malarone, because I hope I don't get mosquito-bitten disease. Sorry, that went somewhere that I wasn't expecting it to go. Actually, it did, and I just forgot. I didn't know where the joke was going. Except you can practice proper hygiene and still get jock itch. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Chinese fire drill jock itch. Does that mean someone has jock itch, Dee Dee, and you change underwear and see if someone else gets jock itch? I must know more. I like this game. Let's turn it into a card game. Sorry, no. It's just... An hour and 8 minutes just flew by. We don't need coal. We don't need coal at all in here. Sorry. Just lost it there for a second. Actually, that was my good hat. I hope it didn't land in the pea jar. I'll find it later. So, folks, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. I apologize for messing up that camera over there and just rambling on a little more about jock itch than I really should have. But it's a real thing. So, I will see you, if you are so inclined, Sunday morning for Barnum Book Club Episode 7, where we will be looking at, I'm not going to pick it up, Watchmen, Chapter 4. That's too many numbers. Barnum Book Club, number 7, Watchmen, Chapter 4. But it is 3 days away. Sunday. I will see some of you there then, I'm sure. I hope to. But Adjective Beaver, Dee Dee Marie, Goldie, J-Man for Life, that one black guy, Randy Knickers. I saw some new names in there. Thank you all for joining very much. I am and remain Big Ed Barnum.